Hello, fellow murderers. Today is Wednesday, August 28th, 2024, and it's a great day to solve a murder. Today we have Deductive Logico solves the mystery of the dead famous bear, and we have three 3x3 grids with suspects, locations, and weapons. We have statements today, 3 statements, one for each of our suspects, and we know 2 of these must be true and 1 of these must be a lie. Whomever is lying is our murderer today, and that's how we'll crack the case. Alright, let's go ahead and meet today's suspects. We have President Amaranth, Silverton the Legend, and the Duchess of Vermilion. The weapons today are poisoned tea, a pair of gardening shears, and a deck of marrow cards. And finally, our locations are a high-end tent, the party lake, and the old pine. Alright, let's dive into our 2 pieces of clues and evidence. The Duchess of Vermilion never set foot in a high-end tent, okay? So we can go ahead and mark an X for the Duchess of Vermilion. Cross that out. President Amaranth was lugging around a heavyweight weapon. Alright, let's check out the weights of the weapons. I think I've seen this one before. I think I actually complained about it in one of my tutorials. The tea being heavyweight doesn't really make a lot of sense to me, but let's see if there are any other heavyweight weapons. No, so it must be the tea. So we'll give President Amaranth the tea and we can cross that off. I'm not sure why the tea is heavyweight, but you know, it is what it is. All right, so let's go ahead and check out our statements. Now, as always, I like to go line by line and see if any of them must be true or must be false, based either on what we've already found or their relationship to one another. If we don't find anything there, I then go line by line and I take the inverse of each statement and see if I can compel the other 2 to be true, with that first one being false. If yes, then we know we've found the liar. And if no, it means that that's actually true and we need to keep looking. So let's go ahead and start looking and see if there's anything we can figure out right away here. So President Amaranth says a pair of gardening shears was by the old pine. Don't really have any information about the gardening shears yet, other than President Amaranth wouldn't have them. So we can go ahead and skip that for now. Silverton the Legend is saying that he brought marrow cards, which is possible. It's one of the 2 weapons he could have had. And okay, we've got another clue about Silverton the Legend saying that he was at the party lake. So let's see, if these 2 are both true, then Silverton the Legend is at the party lake with the marrow cards. But if one of these is a lie, then that means that these can't both be in the same place with the same person, so that's something to keep in mind. That said, I don't think we have enough information yet to determine that for certain, but let's keep looking. So I think next, let's go ahead and hit save, and we'll take the inverse of President Amaranth's statement. So saying that a pair of gardening shears was not by the old pine. So we'll say for the gardening shears, they were not by the old pine. And then Silverton the Legend and Duchess of Vermilion, these 2 both need to be true. So Silverton the Legend saying that he brought a deck of marrow cards, and that would give the gardening shears to the Duchess of Vermilion. And that's not going to work because we know that they can't be by the old pine. And the Duchess of Vermilion is saying that Silverton the Legend was at the party lake, not her. So this is not going to work. So let's go ahead and reset this, and we can go ahead and say this is true. So President Amaranth's statement is true. The gardening shears were by the old pine. That will also tell us that President Amaranth was not by the old pine because he had the cup of poison tea. All right, so I'll go ahead and hit save. Now let's try to make Silverton the Legend our liar today. So let's say Silverton did not bring the deck of marrow cards. That would mean that he brought the gardening shears and was at the old pine. Let's see, so then that's not going to work because once again, we have this issue with the Duchess of Vermilion. We can't have 2 lies. If we know this is true and we're making this the lie, this also has to be true, but it can't be because it would place Silverton at the old pine and the Duchess of Vermilion wants to place him at the party lake. So we already know now it must have been the Duchess of Vermilion by process of elimination, though we don't yet know which weapon she brought or where she was. So let's keep working on that. So we know these 2 are true. We've already got this one marked in, so let's mark this one in. So Silverton brought a deck of marrow cards, and that tells us what we need to know about the Duchess of Vermilion. So she had a pair of gardening shears and was at the old pine. So I'll go ahead and flip this over, but before we see if we're right, I'm just going to fill out the rest of the grid, make sure everything makes sense and is looking correct. So let's see, we know that this must be a lie, so that means Silverton was not at the party lake and must have been at the high-end tent, and President Amaranth must have been at the party lake, with the cup of poison tea. So again, we have Duchess of Vermilion with the gardening shears at the old pine. Let's go ahead and see if we were right. All right, we were right. Thanks so much for playing along with me today. I hope this was a helpful walkthrough, and we'll see you tomorrow.